Hey, welcome to Will Cook Music Reviews. I'm Will Cook, and today I am doing another album roundup. I've done a couple of these already. I've got a whole bunch of albums from the year of 2020 that I want to share my brief thoughts on before the year comes to an end. So I picked 4 out here from the month of October. And we're going to kick it off with the latest album from the Hunna, I'd Rather Die Than Let You In. This English band has a very big sound to them. I caught them back in 2016 with their debut album, and I was pretty impressed with the strength delivered in the vocals from frontman Ryan Potter. Definitely leads the band's sound with his voice. And the album held a couple of insanely infectious songs with Bonfire and You and Me, but it was way overloaded at 16 songs, 14 of which I have never gone back to. They tightened it up a bit with 2018's Dare, and they got me hooked again with the title track, which ended up making its way into my top 100 of the year. It held some smashers, but again, nothing that really kept me coming back aside from that one. And now album number 3, it sounds like their most heavily produced album. You got more use of auto-tune and some more EDM elements, and the drums, they sound very much like what you'd expect from modern-day Travis Barker and from 21 Pilots' Joshua Dunn, both of whom contributed to the album. And it's still generally some real in-your-face rockers, just adapting to the evolution of mainstream rock, I suppose. And no complaints here. If you can slap me in the face with some melodic feeling, I'm down, and there are definitely some big hits on this. I do find there is a lack of authenticity to the music with the overarching production of it all. Just feels a little bit churned out and formulaic. But I still have a great time with a song like Horror. It's about the California wildfires. Again, formulaic, but that chorus has a real nice hit to it. I did have a good deal of fun with Cover You when it was released as a single earlier this year. One Day You'll Thank Me has a real juicy hook. And then Dark Times, that holds the biggest punch of them all. It delivers my favorite melody of the album with the pre-chorus, and then also the most powerful moment of the album as it just shoots out of the cannon with that explosive wail from Ryan, makes for a huge rush. And ultimately, despite the heavy hitters of the album, I'm struggling to connect with the heart in the music. It feels a little bit manufactured to me, and after breaking down my thoughts, I've settled on a strong 5 red doors out of 10 on this one. And then we have the Bunny the Bear with Afterglow, synth-heavy screamo out of Buffalo, New York. These guys came around in my life in 2013 with their 4th album, Stories. Split vocals between screamer Matthew the Bunny Tiber and the clean vocalist Chris the Bear Hutka. I found the sound a little off-putting at first, but they did pull through with some great melodies with songs like In Like Flynn and Another Day, and I ended up getting behind the sound pretty easily. They took on a bit more of a polished sound with 2014's Food Chain, which gave me the wonderful high tides and swimming conditions, but the huge standout for me came when I dug into their back catalog and found the song Lonely off of their 3rd album. I will never forget the feeling of falling in love with that song. It really broke a new barrier for me within the screamo genre. The thing with these guys, though, is they've always struggled to maintain a consistent lineup, going through a handful of instrumentalists over the years, so there's never really been a full band. And then Chris left the band after the Food Chain album, and that's pretty much where I jumped ship as well. And then to replace Chris as the new Bear, Matthew took on a female vocalist in Haley Roback for 2015's A Liar Wrote This. I heard the single A Lover's Touch and it was decently catchy, but I just never ended up diving into the album. And then it turns out Haley Roback got pregnant and had to leave the band. She was replaced by Joseph Garcia for 2017's The Way We Rust, another album that I missed. But then he left the band and he was replaced by Jake Reeves, who is the one we hear on this new album, which isn't actually that new. Half of the album was released as the You Have to Die a Few Times EP, released all the way back in 2018, which is when I caught back onto the band, and I was actually pretty impressed with the songs. It definitely lost a lot of the rawness from their earlier stuff, not as dirty. You got more of an EDM feel to the music, much poppier with more focus on the clean vocals, but the hooks were big, and I was pretty stoked on the melodic power of all of the songs. And that stays pretty consistent with the 5 other songs that have joined those to make this album here. It is so much poppier than their older stuff. The live drums are gone. It's all drum pads, it's all synths, and it sounds like Matthew has no problem in giving Jake the spotlight for pretty much all of these songs. but I'm looking for the hooks, and they definitely gave me plenty to grab onto here. It is a bit tacky, though. And massive props has to be given to Matthew the Bunny Tiber, the founding member. Despite all the fluctuations within the lineup, barely a year has gone by since 2010 that he hasn't released an album, and I can't think of many other artists that can say this same. So despite all the, lineup changes that he's had to deal with over the years, you gotta give the man mad props for keeping the Bunny the Bear alive. And this album, yeah, it's lost a lot of that grit from their past stuff, but I still can have a great time with songs like Futures, Pray, and Let Go. And at the end of it, despite those great songs, I've got to settle on a solid 5 bloody stuffed animals out of 10. And now we have Seaway with Big Vibe. This is the 4th album from this Canadian pop-punk group. It's my 3rd with them, and it's not the same band I remember. And I figured out why. It's because they went from 2 vocalists to just 1 after the departure of co-vocalist Patrick Carlton. And it really does make for a big change to the band's sound, with just Ryan Locke on vocals now. Has a bit more of a mature feel to the stuff without the emo-oriented vocals of Patrick, which were great, but it put the band into more of the knuckle puck realm, had a bit more of that sad boy rock feel to it. Now they've taken on a much more beachy alternative pop rock sound. Ryan Locke's vocals really getting the chance to shine, and they sound better than ever, and the production is spot on as well. These songs are loud, they sound great, they really gel together for a very smooth listen, but not the most exciting of listens. They nailed it with the lead single and title track, the reverb on the distorted guitar, the solid clean beat, and the anthemic chorus. It's instantly one of their most memorable songs. The other singles, Wild Things and Still Blue, are also super strong. The nostalgic mood they set up with Wild Things is beautiful, and Still Blue has this stomping rhythm and another wicked hook. Those songs get me excited. They pull something out of me, while a lot of the rest of this stuff, the quality is there, but there's really little else to surprise me. There is the pre-chorus on If You Let Me, which 100% gives me butterflies when it drops down a notch into the summertime blues part, makes me all gooey inside. The chorus itself, though, it's nothing too notable. And of course, and I say of course because I can't imagine any fan of this band not liking this song, there is no denying the wonderfully infectious Mrs. David, an absolutely stellar song that outshines the majority of this album, possibly even the best of the bunch. They have shown a lot of promise on this stuff, and they've given me some very engaging melodies to latch onto, but I find it does fall into mundane territory on several of these. I've settled on a solid 6 Blue Men out of 10. And we will cap off the roundup with the one and only Mayday Parade with their Out of Here EP. I've been with this Florida pop rock group since 2007's A Lesson in Romantics. These guys are absolute classics in the emo pop rock scene of the mid-2000s, and they've remained pretty damn consistent over the years. Though I gotta say, 2018's Sunnyland was my first real disappointment with the band. Just felt way too lacking in any real bite, especially following 2015's Black Lines, which held some of their most aggressive stuff yet. I don't know, man! They returned with the pretty epic It Is What It Is in the spring, which I quite enjoyed, though it's not on the EP. And then we got Lighten Up Kid in September, and that's about the most fun I've had with a Mayday Parade song since 2015's Black Lines. Nothing too ridiculously cutting about the song, pretty standard, but a real solid piece of polished emo pop rock. Frontman Derek Sanders sounds like he's still living in the mid-2000s. And we got 2 more songs to the EP. First Train, again, a nice pop rocker with a pretty fulfilling chorus that I find is just a bit underwhelming. I think Derek sounds great, the production quality is as good as ever, but it's still lacking that bite that I want to hear from these guys, something to really excite me. Derek loves his sad songs, and we all know he sounds great in front of an acoustic guitar, and we get that with I Can Only Hope. The song picks up near the midpoint, and you get that tasty little guitar solo thrown in there, and it's a pretty nice feeling when they move in for that final chorus. You get a little more pull out of Derek's performance, and I love it when he really bleeds out that emotion. Brings me back to some of the feelings off of Black Lines, but ultimately still a song that just doesn't call me back all that much. They gave us a hella catchy song with Lighten Up Kid, but it mostly feels to me like this EP is just here to tide over the hardcore Mayday Parade fans. I'm still looking for something a little more innovative from these guys, but I'm thinking maybe that time has come and gone. At the end of it all, I've decided to give this a light 6 abandoned umbrellas out of 10.
24 hours later.
And I forgot to record an outro, but I put the shirt back on and I'm doing it now. So that wraps up the album roundup. Thank you for checking the video out. I'd love a thumbs up if you enjoyed the reviews. Hit the subscribe. I've got more on the way. I'm going to be sharing my top 100 favorite songs of 2020 before the end of the year, along with my favorite albums. And leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to chat. I'll see you next time.